Thursday, June 22nd, 2023. I know a couple of our colleagues are stuck in traffic on 95, but we're going to go ahead and get started this morning. And with that, if I can have Madam Clerk, if we could have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Barnett.
Here.
Commissioner Baxter.
Here.
Commissioner Bernard.
Here.
Commissioner Marino.
Here.
Vice Mayor Sachs.
Here.
Mayor Weiss.
Here.
Commissioner Woodward.
All right. With that, we are going to have our opening invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, and we have the pleasure of having Commissioner Bernard lead us. If you're able to, please rise.
Father, help us to be sensitive to what is happening to those around us. Make us aware of concerns of others and guide us through the decision process that is before us today. Give us the strength and courage to do what is best for all those who comes before us. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, she called in. Thank you. Okay. All right, well, give yourself a minute to, if you need anything. All right. With that, did we have notice?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And proof of publication? We have a motion to receive and file. We have a motion by Commissioner Bernard, a second by Commissioner Marino. All in favor, all opposed. That motion carries 6-0 with Commissioner Woodward not with us yet. All right. Next, swearing in by our county attorney.
All those wishing to testify or speak on any of today's items, please rise and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have any amendments to our agenda this morning?
Yes, we do have amendments. On our page, we have, starting with consent agenda, item number 2, 22-15-15 debris dog. We have an additional add delete for exhibit C1, so use limitations, items 2 and 3 as it relates to the use and their permit with the Solid Waste Authority. On the regular agenda, item number 4, we have an amendment to use limitation number 1 to modify the date, and then an amendment to the Class A conditional use to correct the department heading. Item number 8, employee housing. We had some corrections to verbiage to add in conditional use and strike out an extra "the." And then item number 9, we have a correction to the motion as it was referencing 8 instead of 9. And as an update, our Land Development Regulation Advisory Board and Land Development Regulation Commission. And we're deleting Exhibit 2. So we're just asking for permission to advertise relative to unity of title and not potentially buildable lot. Our Land Development Regulation Advisory Board and Land Development Regulation Commission recommended approval of the Unity of Title Exhibit 1 and found it consistent with the comprehensive plan with a vote of 10-0.
All right, thank you very much. All right, do we have any postponements or remands or withdrawals to today's agenda?
We have one item for postponement. I have the wrong agenda, sorry. No items on the postponement. Moving forward, sorry, Head Zoning Commission.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, next, we're moving on to the consent agenda. We have any cards on the consent agenda? No cards, okay.
Motion to approve the consent agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, before we move, maybe we can we'll go through it, see if anybody has any disclosures. We can start with Commissioner Baxter, and then we'll take your motion, Commissioner Bernard.
No disclosures for consent.
None, Mr. Mayor.
None, Mayor.
Commissioner Marino?
Actually, I received an email from Matthew Barnes of WGI
Okay. On which item?
on, I'm sorry, item, consent agenda, item 2.
On item 2, debris dog. Okay, and Commissioner Barnett?
No, Mayor, no disclosures.
All right, and I have no disclosures on the consent agenda. All right, with that, will you have,
Do want to clarify, the clerk made the point, could we get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
oh, sorry, good point.
Mo-
Before we move on, we have a
To
motion.
adopt the agenda as amended.
We have a-
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bernard, a second by Commissioner Baxter. All in favor, all opposed. That motion carries 6-0. All right, now we'll take the motion on the consent agenda. We
So
have-
moved, Mr. Mayor.
And a second. We have a motion by Commissioner Bernard, a second by Commissioner Baxter on the consent agenda. All in favor, all opposed. That motion carries 6-0. Okay, now that moves us on to our regular agenda, and this is item number 5, Towns at Tidewater. This had been in front of us a couple times.
Yes, the item before you is a request for an official zoning map amendment, a Class A conditional use to allow townhouses, as well as a Class A conditional use to allow a combined density greater than 2 units per acre. The zoning commission recommended approval. Staff is recommending approval of the requests. We'll turn it over to the applicant to give a presentation or any updates, since it's been before the board a couple times.
Thank you. Jennifer Morton with J. Morton Planning and Landscape Architecture. I'm here today representing Akel Homes. The town
Okay, I'm Carl Terwilliger at 5782 Ranches Road. I have lived in this community since 1984, which is going on 40 years. I do not think, let me see, I do not think that this request is compatible with our community. I do not buy the excuse that, well, there's high density around us, therefore we'll fit in with that. We're not Winston Trails, we're not the townhouses to the east. We are a separate rural enclave. I raised my son with my wife on our 2.5-acre parcel. My own business was there, growing native plants. There are other people around me who have horses, mangoes, other nurseries, and they too enjoy this quality of life experience. We also provide services to the people around us without having to move out to the acreage. I think that every portion of our county should have preserved rural areas to provide these kinds of services to other people. We've talked about compromise with this developer. We haven't gotten anything from them. If they talk about a 30-foot buffer, well, the wall goes through half of that. Now we're talking 15 feet before we see another wall. I don't want walls. I want the lake on my side with the native vegetation to keep our wildlife happy on our side, so we don't have to see them. If they want to develop on half of their side, the north half along Hypoluxo Road, I'm fine with that. I really don't even care how many houses they put there. But I don't want to see it, because it's not part of our community. So either they get to put in 1-acre lots along half of their property, the south half, or they put in the lake and the preservation area, the natural preservation area, for us to look at. You're not mentioning to your future customers that there's horses and crowing roosters, about 10 of them every morning. Just saying it's agriculture doesn't quite do it. So that needs to be a little bit more specific. We have other landowners along Hypoluxo Road, especially right across from me, who are going to be asking for the same sort of thing. And I'd like to set a precedent with this development for the future. I want them to know that they're not going to get the whole parcel. I'm not going to look across my street at a wall of townhouses, which is exactly what's going to happen. They say in your write-up, it will not affect the natural environment. I disagree with that. And I think that this requires
Mr. Tilliger, can you
Mitigation.
wrap this up?
Okay, I got 7 seconds.
Oh, you're over already.
Oh, I'm over, okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miss?
My name is Ellen Tannehill. Excuse me. I live at 6388 Ranches Road. I'm here to reiterate my opposition to this project as proposed. It was obvious after the meeting in May that you will approve this project. During May's meeting, some of you were concerned about legacy property owners in the Ag Reserve. How about showing the same concern for older neighborhoods, or should I call them legacy neighborhoods, and their residents? I've lived in the neighborhood for 27 years, but some neighbors have been there much longer. This project is now in what is called the Hypoluxo Corridor, ripe for increased density, although it was part of Ranches Road and extends into our low-density neighborhood. Mr. Akel did agree to build a concrete wall, increase the buffer, and add additional landscaping, but building 2-story townhomes or moving a lake along Ranches Road was not considered feasible. I hope when future developments are proposed for the Hypoluxo Corridor, that you will listen to other options and act on our concerns to preserve the rural nature of our legacy neighborhood. Thank you.
Lori McKenzie, followed by Warren Dance.
Good morning. Lorian McKenzie, 5906 Ranches Road. We've been out there almost 43 years. I grew up in East Lantana, thought the beach was the place. Well, you get an option like this, a rural enclave, there's nothing like it. So we have in the back a pond, we have ducks, we have all the wildlife you could think of, we have otters that come through. So the more that we cut this into pieces, the more we're losing. So this project is inconsistent and incompatible, and your zoning department said that. However, with the use of TDRs and workforce, they now fit the parameters. But why is this all or nothing? Why is it maximum density? Why don't we look at townhomes on Hypoluxo and single family back? You'd get the required, or not the required, the allowable units, but you'd put it on the corridor, not in the wooded neighborhood. So we really don't understand why the commission has been unsympathetic to our plea to keep a little green, keep a little flora in Florida. What we have is unique. And now, just because somebody wants to put in maximum, you're only looking at maximum. So the buffer is 17 and a half feet to a family farm. Now they're going to disclose they're next to agricultural uses. That doesn't portray what's there. I mean, there's horses, there's, I think, a macaw, there's birds, there's roosters, 17 and a half feet, only because the developer is going for maximum. So you have to build all the way to the edge. Well, how about not doing that? How about having a little less? Put the townhomes, like I said, on Hypoluxo, the very next development, Silverwood has done that. I think it's Silverwood. They have done that. They put the townhomes on Hypoluxo. That works. We have a road that's a mile long, a quarter mile, and comes back a mile. That enclave can't be replaced. You let them build, it's gone. It doesn't come back. So all these animals, some people don't like snakes. I'm happy we have snakes. We have tortoises. We have everything. So we're asking you, we, the long-term residents, are asking you to try to look at Palm Beach County not as a pattern to make it like Broward or see if our statistics can go up because we've allowed for more people. Instead, look at it holistically. Look at the patches of wonder that we have, the greenery. And so we're asking you to please, with a prayer, you asked for help in making tough decisions. Well, you have to listen to get it. Thank you.
Sir?
I'm Warren Dans. I live in Winston Trail, 6708 Brookhurst Circle. I'm a resident, a delegate to Cobra, and a previous member to our board. I want to thank you for postponing till today from the May meeting. It gave us time to meet with the developer and with Jennifer. And our primary concern as a community was density and the fact that we were setting a precedent by building no homes at all townhomes. This doesn't exist on Hypoluxo between Jog and Military, In the beginning of our meeting, after we got past the understanding from the developer that he is moving forward as is, no change in density, no change in housing style, I put that aside so we could have a productive meeting, because it doesn't help for me to say the same thing over and over. They then showed us the plan, which I've seen, and everything they designed. Brad, our vice president, and I both think they're going to build something very nice. It looks great. And this is not my board. My board didn't meet after this, so they haven't changed their position. They haven't made a new position. My primary concern is still the precedent we're setting by not building any homes. And we're having density that is 3 times higher than we are across the street and about 50% higher than everyone else on the street as a whole. When you take pieces of them, that doesn't represent each community. We tried to accomplish something, and I asked during our meeting for, is there any type of restriction that can be put in so this doesn't set a precedent? Maybe just for small scale, you can build all townhomes and have density at the maximum amount LR3 can provide with all the bonuses that are available. No one had a good idea for that, and the developer said he didn't want to hamstring any future customers he could have on the same street. So our primary concern in Winston Trails and mine is just the number of homes and how it's incompatible with the LR1 across the street and our LR3 that has a density of 2.4. The other thing I learned in that meeting that I didn't know previously, so the townhomes that are going to be workforce are rentals. That's new. I think that came out in the last meeting. The rest of the units, they said they haven't decided yet. So they're either rentals or for sale. I didn't know if you were aware of that. Thank you.
The last 3 cards are Jennifer Thomason, Leslie Mandel, and Roxanne Ald.
Good morning, everyone. I am Jennifer Thomason. I am the CEO for Habitat for Humanity, Greater Palm Beach County. I'm here to speak in support of this project. We are always supporting anyone who is addressing workforce and affordable housing. We have a number of people that we are not able to serve that are in that income range that this project will be serving. And the reality is we have an amazing county that so many people are coming to because it's so amazing, and we have to provide housing for them. I think what is being proposed is going to complement the neighborhood, and it's just a need that has to be addressed. Although I know that they are rentals, it is still going to be able to possibly serve families that we cannot serve in that AMI. So I am in full support of this project representing affordable housing in Greater Palm Beach County. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Leslie Mandel, and I represent the Housing Leadership Council of Palm Beach County. The Housing Leadership Council Board of Directors voted to support the Towns of Tidewater project. Housing Leadership Council is in the trenches of Palm Beach County's housing crisis. We hear daily from residents who have jobs but are forced out of their homes due to rental increases. The proposed project with 69 townhouses will deliver much-needed housing to Palm Beach County, specifically housing that will serve a wide range of incomes. The Towns of Tidewater development will have 16 units dedicated to workforce housing, which will help the workforce housing problem. The 16 units will be deed restricted to serve our workforce families earning between $50,000 and $110,000 per year. I respectfully request that you vote to support this project. HLC is working with the development community, government, businesses, and Palm Beach County residents to come together and begin addressing the housing crisis. This concerted effort was supported when Palm Beach County voters approved a $200 million bond issue to address housing in November 2022. We need to ensure that all Palm Beach County residents can live in housing that is financially feasible and sustainable. Thank you for your service and all that you do to make Palm Beach County a great place to live.
And our last card is Roxanne Ald.
First off, I'm Roxanne Ald. I live at 5705 Ranches Road, which is right directly next to this project. What they're giving you here, 16 years, $100,000 income. I'll tell you what, it's going to be $5,000 a month for rental fees. This is not going to fit anybody for affordable housing whatsoever. If you've checked the figures lately on what insurance costs and taxes in this county, what this guy's going to do, just my thoughts, he's going to buy them back. He's going to put them up for, say, rentals, and he's going to buy them back because they're not going to be able to afford them in this affordable housing. There is no such thing here. You've got to build your own complex to have affordable housing, the whole thing, and gear it that way. So it's contained, the money that's spent on it, and it's going to have to be financed also partly by this bond issue that they've put out. It's just that this fellow has properties up and down the street that I say are under other people's names that are already bought by his company. There's at least 4 or 5 of them that I can identify. And he's going to put those over to the same thing as soon as it's going to be all high density all up and down our street. That's what he's going to do. That's according to my thoughts from what I've figured out on paper. Other people have other thoughts, but this is what I'm saying. I've done some work in real estate, and I know, and some legal work too. Now, we have a problem with TDRs also, as was witnessed last meeting we had. A lot of people were here that want to sell their land now because they have sold TDRs off on it, and now they're turning these TDRs on us, the landholders. They're selling it back to people to screw us on our land. It's not right. And I think you're facing a legal challenge to this whole setup, as in taking. This is a taking. This is where you all are going to have to hire attorneys for us to fight you on the way this whole program is set up. Some people in the Ag Reserve sold their land, the rights on their land. Some people didn't. I think this is going to identify who is able to do something with their land in the future. Well, the ones that sold their land, we paid for it. We're taxpayers. We paid for these TDRs in the first place for people to have them. Now they're turning them on us. Well, I think this is all wrong, and I think we're setting up right here for a real legal challenge on this thing. And I hope so. I know I'll be part of it. And what he wants to do, I have chickens and ducks and horses and every darn thing there is, and it makes noise at night, all night long. And you're going to put lights in this place, and you're going to hang it over my fence, and I have a 2-story house, so they're going to be looking in my window. This is wrong. You cannot put something like that in there. I live on 2.5 acres. This thing's going to be on little matchbook-sized places all over the place over there. We're going to be looking at each other, and it is not right. You cannot. We have a Boynton Beach Canal divides our enclave from everything else. Now we're separate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wrong.
Yeah. We also have 2 non-speaking cards that are opposed. And with that, the end of our cards, Mayor.
Okay, before we move on to Commissioner Baxter, I want to acknowledge and recognize Commissioner Woodward has joined us on the dais, and I need to ask for your disclosure on this item.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I did have verbal communication with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, and Alex Eckel, and no new emails since the last meeting.
Okay, thank you. And then been advised that, does anybody from the public have any questions about Commissioner Woodward's disclosure? Okay, seeing none, we will move on. Commissioner Baxter, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. With this, I would like to take them, and normally we go through and approve A, B, and C.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had serious concerns about proximity, and we have seen just in the 6 months recently how mixing different lifestyles has been a problem for a lot of people. And 69 units on 9 acres is just, wow. And I feel the residents, I feel their concern, and it's been proven over the last few months. So on item number 5, I would like to make a motion to approve A and B, and if we need to handle it separately, I'd like to deny C. Or I can do that 3 different motions if you would like.
I'm looking to council.
Sure, if there is a split motion, it would be best to handle them separately. And also for the motion, if it is seconded, to deny, if you could please clarify which standards you believe that they failed to meet for the conditional use. And staff can go through the standards if you'd like to.
Well, let's,
So can we just handle A and B first?
Yeah.
Motion to approve?
Sure.
okay, so we have a motion. You want to make a motion on item
A and B.
Actually, I'm sorry. I think it's probably best that we handle them holistically, because if you approve A and B, I'm not sure that those would be effective or useful without C.
Okay, can we, wait, let me just ask staff, can you please, because I'm trying to find this on my agenda, can you please go over A, B, and C?
Sure. The motion for item A is the official zoning map amendment. This rezones the property from agriculture residential to single-family residential for the whole 9.24 acres. And staff has included a cause, which is conditions of approval that are indicated in Exhibit C1. RS is consistent with the LR3 future land use that you changed to. And the next one? On page.
Hang
The
on
next-
1 second. All right, I'm still, what page are the, what page?
Page 5 of the agenda.
Page 5.
And
Oh,
it,
of the agenda.
yeah, five of
Mr.
the
Mayor, actually,
agenda,
if we
item
could just
5.
back up, I think for purposes of due process, giving the applicant an opportunity to rebut anything that may have been said
Okay.
while you're looking into that.
Jennifer Morton with J. Morton Planning and Landscape Architecture. I feel like we've done a lot of work on this project. We have we've met with residents, we've met with the community. I have a excellent client that has a proven track record of delivering quality housing. This location is along the Hypoluxo corridor. It is consistent with all the projects that are along Hypoluxo Road, townhouse, both on product type townhouse as well as density. We're at 7 units to the acre. So we will continue to work with the residents, providing the native landscaping. They asked for the wall, we gave them the wall. We have a great project, and I just hope that that you can see that, and that that townhouses are compatible with single family. I know that question has been asked before, and our townhouse product is a 2-story product. Single family homes are 1 and 2 story. There is compatibility, and we look forward to working with Housing Leadership Council, the residents, the community of Palm Beach County, the business owners to help address this housing crisis, but we have to build some houses, and we have 16 workforce housing units on this project. So, thank you.
All right. Okay, I want to go back to Commissioner. Okay, so you're going to come off? Okay. So, Scott, Mr. Stone, so how would you like to handle this, since I just want to refer back to you on this.
Sure. I first have a question for staff. Is item 5C intrinsically related to A and B such that they're commingled?
Actually, if I could jump in on that topic. When you all adopted the ordinance for this, there was a requirement to purchase 28 transferable development rights in the comp plan. So by denying it now, I believe you would have an issue of being inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. So because of the ordinance, you are now required to, have the TDRs. Otherwise, you'd have to open up the comprehensive plan amendment that has already been adopted.
Yeah, and to add, so the three different resolutions, the first one rezones it to RS, which is consistent with the LR3 designation. That's what that does. And that opens the site up to 28 dwelling units, which is 9.24 multiplied by 3. That lets you get the 28 units. The second resolution, letter B, is for the 28 townhomes required by the comprehensive plan amendment, which gets it to 56 units. And then the third item, C3 is the exhibit, and item C on the agenda, that's for the combination of the transfer development rights and workforce housing, and that gets you the additional 13 units to get to the 69. So that's how these three pieces work together to get you to the figure that was adopted in the comp plan ordinance of 69.
Okay. All right. Let's see, I'll go back to Commissioner, I'll go to legal, and then we'll go to Commissioner Bernard.
As Brian mentioned, normally these are handled at the same time, the comprehensive plan amendment and the zoning applications, so we don't encounter a situation where one could be ineffective while the other one is effective. So that's kind of why we're in this, unique situation. I believe if the conditional use to allow the bonus density were denied, then that would make the comp plan ordinance essentially impossible to satisfy the requirements. And so there would probably be some subsequent amendment, either county initiated or by the applicant, to change the land use back to something more appropriate. Something we would have to look into to determine that. But the zoning applications themselves stand on their own as far as the standards of approval that you're looking for. So if any commissioners believe that there is not competent substantial evidence to support one or more of the standards, then that would be grounds for denial.
Thank you. All right. We'll go to Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What I would do is I would make a motion to approve item 5A, B, and C.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Bernard to approve item 5A, B, and C. We have a second by Commissioner Marino. Now we'll go to, it's either going to be, we'll go back to Commissioner Baxter, and then we'll go to Commissioner Woodward. Lights went on and off, so.
I'm good with just taking a vote.
All right. Now, I need to do this correctly, so are you asking to call the question?
No, she's just saying she's just going to wait for the vote.
All right, all right. Want to make sure I handle this by Robert's Rules of Order. Okay, Commissioner Woodward.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Sorry for my tardiness this morning, bad traffic. Just for my own clarification, we are not giving any concessions outside of what the plan allows as far as the density. They are going through the process to purchase the TDRs and use the workforce density bonuses, right?
That is correct. Yeah, the way the small scales and the concurrent rezonings work is you get the whole package at once. It's just because of the way that in March they were split, you adopted the ordinance. Like you're now seeing them separate, which is not normal, which is what Mr. Stone was saying. So, but everything they are asking for here is within and it's consistent with the plan. It's just if you were to say you couldn't do the TDRs, there is a concern that it's inconsistent with the plan because you've already adopted an ordinance and a condition there, which becomes part of your plan. And so that's where the inconsistency could arise.
Okay, and the reason it's separate right now is because we allowed a postponement so that they can meet with another neighborhood, or this would have been done at the same time as the comp plan.
Yeah,
correct?
back in March is when you originally had this item. You adopted that, told them to go back. They needed to come back and pick up the other zoning request for the TDRs and the townhouse approval because it was LR3 rather than their requested MR5. This is a very complicated, I mean, this is kind of in the weeds, but it's a technical reason why that they had to take the postponement, which got them to last month, and then the postponement to meet with the neighborhood that brought them to today. So it's a strange chain of events.
All right. I don't know who came first, but we'll go to Commissioner Marino, and then we'll go to Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I just want to say that I have owned a townhome, do not own it anymore, but for over 30 years, and lived in it. And it is a home. Whether it's a single-family detached home or a townhome, it's a home. And I enjoyed living in it. I do not feel that the townhomes are a bad thing, which it's sort of coming out like townhomes are a bad thing. They are not a bad thing. They're a great way for people to live. The way my townhouse was set up, my folks had the master downstairs, I had the master upstairs, and it worked perfectly wonderfully for us. We worked as a community together with insurance and roofing and maintenance, and quite frankly, being a single-family detached home owner at this point in time, I'd rather be in a townhouse. And with that, I just want to say townhouses are not a bad thing. They are actually a good thing for all of our communities. And right across from my townhouse was a community of single-family detached homes. There was never an issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. You're recognized, and Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Ms. Morton, I have a couple of questions. I know you have worked very hard on this. There's a couple of issues that are still outstanding for me. One is this planned development will not use Ranches Road for any construction. Is that correct?
That's correct. We don't have an access on Ranches Road. We won't use it for construction. We do have a fire connection that
You
was
have an exit, emergency exit off of
emergency, and we
Ranches
have
Road.
a opaque gate, so you can't see into the community.
Now, secondly, what will be abutting Ranches Road to impact visually the folks who live on acreage on Ranches Road?
So we have a 30-foot buffer, and within that 30-foot buffer, we'll locate a 6-foot wall.
Now, how high, wait, it's 30-foot buffer. Is that a brim, or what is this, a landscape buffer?
Yes, that's a landscape buffer.
And how high are the townhouses that will be overlooking Ranches Road?
They are 2-story townhouses.
How do we know, 2-story could be pretty short, or 1-story could be very, do you have the number of feet that are those townhouses that will be looking over Ranches Road?
Typically, I don't have the actual elevation for this, but townhouses, 2-story townhouses, typically 24 feet to the midpoint on the roof.
Okay, so can you assure us today that the balconies on these townhouses are not going to have visual access to livestock or people living off of Ranches Road?
I do not think we will have any, will we have any balconies? Balconies on the back? There are no balconies.
There will be no balconies
No
on Ranches
balconies
Road?
On the back, right.
Okay. And, because that concerns me, is not Hypoluxo. What concerns me is Ranches Road, because you have, you don't have, this is a rural place here. And I don't want to have folks looking out over people's backyards on Ranches Road. Second, thank you. So you're going to have a barrier. What type of, and I know we talked about this, but I want it on the record. What type of native vegetation will you have along that route on Ranches Road?
We're adding the pine trees, we'll have sable palms, we'll have oaks, we'll have a variety of native vegetation along Ranches Road.
And that will be not seedlings.
Right.
Okay, we're talking mature trees that will cover the visual access from the townhouses to the folks who live off of Ranches Road.
Typically, you install the vegetation, you need to give that an opportunity to grow. So you don't put it in so that it has no opportunity to grow.
I do want these trees to grow.
Yes.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
but I have experience where seedlings come in and they're about, at 14, 16 inches high. So what I want to be sure, and the reason for this line of questioning, is I want to be sure that the folks who are living in these townhouses can't look out their balconies or their windows and see their chickens or their horses or their folks living in. Can I have that assurance?
We will provide a lush landscape buffer with native vegetation.
I understand, Jennifer. I just want to be sure that it will cover the visual access to the folks living across from Ranches Road.
After about 5 years, 3 to 5 years, you will not see any homes, is what the applicant is saying.
Okay, and then another item is, I read where you get a waiver on the recreational, so what you're gonna have for recreation of these workforce housing, and you know where I'm going, because I'm a stickler on this. You have a mulch trail around the lake. Now, what are the kids gonna play when they're out there in the workforce? Do we have a basketball court?
We have a pool, cabana bath, clubhouse, and we
Okay.
have a child care room for the kids.
Good. You know I was going there.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for the childcare.
Thank you.
Okay. Streetlights. Will there be streetlights on Ranches Road? Because we're looking at 3 to 5 years for these trees to grow. Could you assure us that there will be no streetlights that will impact the folks who live on Ranches Road?
We will not be providing any street lights on Ranches Road, none.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Morton.
Thank you.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Bernard, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I made a motion today to approve this item, and just want to really thank the residents for being here to express their concerns regarding some of the townhomes and regarding their concerns regarding affordable housing. My assistant who works for me lives in Silverwood Estates, and that's pretty much, I think, maybe not too far from this neighborhood. And she lives in a townhome, and it was a workforce townhome that she purchased. And, she received the opportunity to live in a very nice townhome that was built by Lennar. And now some of the residents, there are going to be 69 homes and 16 townhomes that are going to be built. Some of our county workers may be the ones who get that opportunity. And, whether some folks want you to have a single detached home, people just want a place to stay. And I think that we have to get away from this idea that everyone needs to have a single family home. Sometimes maybe your first home is a townhome. And if you have a place to stay, that's a good thing. And so, I just don't want us to, get away from the fact that, we're giving residents an opportunity to have a place to stay. And, I would probably say that we're probably not doing a good job in terms of, defining the difference between affordable housing and workforce housing. And, I think we need to do a better job to educate our residents to know the difference. So in that way, our teachers, our firefighters, our workforce housing residents. And so we need to make sure that we have them here. And our workers who work for the county. So that's the reason why I made the motion, and I hope that I can get your support. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Baxter, you recognize.
So just for clarification, and thank you, Mayor, I absolutely love townhomes. My first house I ever bought, a townhome. They're amazing. They're a great starter place. My issue was never about townhomes. I think they're a wonderful item to have. My issue is where we're putting the maximum amounts of density and causing residents that already live in an area potential harm. Of getting just unaware when they buy that townhome or when they rent it, what they're moving into, and that's why I'd originally asked for disclosure. I'm going to support Commissioner Bernard, but I just wanted to clarify that the density, I just 30, 50, okay, 69 just seems, it just, that number in 9 acres, that's where I really, surrounded by a very agricultural area. It's not a matter of, I mean, if this was on 2 main streets and it was surrounded by, you know, another high-density neighborhood, regardless of it being across the street, within a few miles, it's literally surrounded by properties with horses and chickens, and that's where my issue really came up. So thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, you're recognized.
I think what it comes down to is a great American poet once said, "Good fences make good neighbors." And we all have to be a community. I just want to be sure that the folks who will be inhabiting this new area will not seriously impact the neighbors who live there. And I have chickens more, and I got roosters. Chickens are easy, roosters are loud. And I got houses that moved right behind me, and I don't like it. I don't like it. They're on their balconies, and they can see. So I made sure they planted mature trees, and I'm looking at Mr. Acko, and I know that he's going to put in mature, either southern pine, Georgia pine, something big, so that they cannot see.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm asking you to please maintain decorum in here.
And I think that they will be good neighbors, because you're watching and we're watching. And our staff put down a number of conditions, that there will be no traffic on Ranches Road, that there will be vegetation, there'll be a barrier. And I think with enough of a barrier, I think they will be good neighbors. We're watching. And it's the way we grow. It's the way we grow. So we, at least myself, I want to be sure that there's enough coverage so that you don't impact, that this new development doesn't impact the folks who have lived there for many years. And I know that they will. And that this will be a good place for people to get their toe into Palm Beach County living. And I hope that things go well for you. But in the scheme of things, it's probably good, because we're watching. The barriers have to be there, the fences have to be there. And that's why I would be supporting it at this time. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have a couple questions for staff. Came up during public comment. There was an allegation made, or it was presented, that potentially the developer could buy back these workforce housing units.
I'm not sure what that is in reference to, because the ones that
asking you.
the workforce ones that they'll have as rental, he will own them. So I'm not understanding that comment on buying back, but any for sale.
Is it prohibited?
Well, for sale ones, if for sale unit, if the developer built a for sale unit, offered it for sale, it was purchased, it's bound by the restrictions in the workforce housing program, so the development can't buy it back. But he will, I imagine, retain ownership of the ones that he's renting for workforce housing.
But there's no way, those are deed restricted, those units.
Correct.
For, is it 30 or 50 years?
Brian, one is 15 years and one is 30 years.
Oh, we're getting another legal opinion.
So the rental units are restricted for a period of 30 years. The for sale units are restricted for 15 years. It's deed restricted.
So
and there'll be a covenant recorded on the property as well. So any subsequent purchasers will be fully aware of these restrictions.
Okay, well, while you're there, maybe this is a question for you. There was comment made that the county buys the TDRs?
The way the TDR program works, the county's TDR program, is the development rights come off of conservation lands, county-owned lands. There are such things as private TDR transfers, but we almost never see those. I think we've seen one in like 25 years. But as far as the way our TDR program works, it's county land. We've already owned the land. We remove the density. We then place the units in the TDR bank, and then a project comes through. It then designates as a receiving area through your action, and then they get the units. So if there's an acquisition cost to the county, it's through acquiring the land. So I'm not aware of any, other cost like that.
Okay. And I appreciate that, and obviously this is something that a lot of people have not had an opportunity to hear about or understand, so I think we all appreciate the education that you've given us on these items. As a district commissioner, I will tell you that I had and still have deep reservations about this project. I've been out to the community. It is beautiful. There's beautiful properties as you go south of Ranches Road. On the other hand, if you look at Hypoluxo, next door to this property is a church. There's a number of churches on the property on Hypoluxo Road today on the south side of Hypoluxo. The issue with the townhomes, and my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Morton, is if they are going to be for sale units, that they're going to be, they'll have their own, they'll have their own lots. Is that the?
Yes, these are fee simple townhomes.
So they would own the land.
Front yard and a rear yard.
Yeah, so they would have their own yards. All right. This is a really difficult one for me because I understand where the residents are coming from, and we have been working to try and work on putting an overlay in place in that community. But I also think it's important to understand to me there's a demarcation, and that's Ranches Road. And that in developing, if there's a way to segregate what's being developed off of Hypoluxo and keep it out of south of Ranches Road, then I think that's what needs to happen. But I also understand that you're going to develop differently on Hypoluxo than what you would do in the rural enclave that's behind it. I wish we could have come up with a plan that had less density. I wish we could have come up with a plan that moved or at least part of the retention to the south side of the property. I know I did my best to try and see if we could do that. That's just not an option in order to be able to get the type of number of workforce housing units that we all know that we need. So this is really difficult for me, but I am going to be supporting this project this morning. So with that, I think there's no other lights lit. We can go ahead. I don't know if you need to do a voice vote or if we're ready to we can just take a vote on this. So let me just see. All in favor? Any opposed? We have one. Motion carries 6-1 with Commissioner Barnett opposed. All right, thank you. I want to thank the residents for coming in, and appreciate everybody's work on this. I want to thank the applicant for taking those postponements and allowing the work to be done with the community. And we are going to hold you accountable to the agreements and the requirements that staff has put in place, and expect that there is going to be a separation between this community and those that are to the south of them. With that, we are completed with this item. All right. We are now on items 6 and 7.
And so item number 6 before you is a small-scale future land use amendment for Lake Worth Crossing. Their request before the board is to revise adopted conditions of approval contained in ordinance 2009-28. And we can present these together as a package, item 6 and 7. I'll turn it over to the applicant.
it's the right thing.
Do I need to push a button?
My mom lived in a townhouse for 30 years.
I don't think it's a townhouse, but it could be a two-story.
It's changed.
Okay, where are we now?
We are at 6 and 7.
6 and 7,
This is
Okay.
Lakewood.
Good morning. I'm Lauren McClellan with J. Morton Planning and Landscape Architecture. I'm going to be presenting the Lake Worth Road Crossings project. It's the next two items on the agenda. I'm going to present both together. It's a small-scale amendment with companion zoning application. And with me this morning, I have Carlos Cardozo with DTI as the architect for the project, as well as Stephanie Guerra with Kimley Horn, who's the traffic engineer for the project. So the 9.34 acre property is located on the south side of Lake Worth Road, west of the Florida Turnpike. You can see from this aerial that the subject property is really one of the last properties within this stretch of Lake Worth Road to obtain zoning approvals and start building. The request before the board are a future land use amendment to amend the conditions of approval, basically to delete the mixed-use related design conditions, to allocate a proportionate share of the approved square footage to this property, to delete conditions that require the property to be developed as a lifestyle commercial center. We're retaining the commercial high future land use designation. Also before the board is a rezoning to MUPD to be consistent with that commercial high future land use designation, as well as a Class A conditional use for the hospital, and a Type 2 waiver to allow the 24-hour operation of a hotel within proximity of residential, which is to the south within the Polo Gardens project. So before I get into the specifics of the specific request before the board, I just wanted to provide some history of the West Lake Worth Road neighborhood plan. So this plan was created and officially recognized by the county in 2009. The plan was developed by the existing residential communities along the corridor in order to ensure that the large tracts of polo vacant land, you can't really see it on there, but it was all polo fields and vacant back in 2009. But they wanted to ensure that these properties were developed consistent with the neighborhood and at a density and intensity that would really serve the existing residents of the community as well as the future residents coming into the area. So to zoom in kind of where I have the little clouded area, you can see the site there located and highlighted in yellow. It is within the neighborhood plan that's designated as commercial. So now to give you just a little bit more history regarding the prior comprehensive plan amendments that were adopted that impact this property. So also in 2009, at the same time that the neighborhood plan was recognized, a 19-acre property, which is the whole big box that's shown on the screen, was approved for land use change to commercial high with conditions. Subsequently, in 2018, which is the west, I'm going to use the word half loosely, the west half of the portion, it's a little bit less than half. The west half of the property came in and did a land use change to amend the conditions of approval to take out the design requirements and to obtain its proportionate share of 300,000 square feet. That's what was assigned to the 19 acres back in 2009. So just to summarize what a result of the conditions is that the 19-acre property was limited to 300,000 square feet. As I mentioned, the 2018 ordinance took its proportionate share. The conditions also required a mix of at least 3 land uses to be developed on the property, which included restaurant, retail, office, institutional, hotel, and restaurants. It also required pedestrian connectivity to all existing and future adjacent parcels. And then no retail tenant could be larger than 65,000 square feet. So the comprehensive plan amendment before you today is modifying the conditions exactly as what was done for the parcel on the west side, the 2018. We are also proposing to, actually, this is the, sorry, this is the comp plan future land use map. So you can see that the property is designated as commercial high. To the east of the property is commercial high and HR 8. Surrounding us to the south and to the west is an MLU with commercial high and HR 8. And then to the north of us is commercial low. We are proposing to rezone the property to MUPD to be consistent with the existing commercial high future land use designation. The parcels surrounding the property are, for the most part, all MUPD. There's a general commercial zone to the east of us and a PUD to the east of us. So just to get into the site plan specifics a little bit, we are proposing 3 uses: a hotel, a hospital, and medical office, which were prescribed in the conditions of approval from 2009. They had 3 uses that they prescribed. The total square footage is proposed to be 109,808 square feet, which is less than the proportionate share assigned to this eastern portion of that amendment. It was 154,000 is going to be the proportionate share of this. Access to the property is via a right-in and a right-out. A right-in is also via a dedicated right turn lane into the site. Access is also in 2 locations proposed on Hooks Road, as well as cross-access to the Polo Gardens project to the west and to the south. The buildings are all set back approximately 175 to 200 feet from Lake Worth Road. The total FAR of the project is 0.27, and the maximum building height of 3 stories is consistent with the Polo Gardens project that is to the south and to the west of the property. So we know that many residents are here today. Our office has had prior discussions with the Lake Worth Road Coalition and most recently held meetings with the Summer Chase HOA. Our office helped to also coordinate a meeting between DOT, the County Traffic Division, and Summer Chase on May 24th. The main concern that's been raised by the residents of Summer Chase has been related to this intersection. You can see it clouded kind of at the northwest corner of our property. So this is Summer Chase's access to Lake Worth Road. I'm going to zoom in with our site plan. So right now, Summer Chase has access to their community via a full median exit and entry. They have a right in, a right out, a left in, and a left out. DOT is currently in process right now to do some roadway modifications for Lake Worth Road. This has been in the process before our project. And so what they are proposing to do is to allow right in, right out, and only allow a left out for the residents of Summer Chase. You can see that our access is further to the east. We have a right in, right out. They do not align. And so then I just kind of want to talk about access in general. So I'm going to go back to the master plan a little bit. So the master plan did something that was really amazing, that when you have big swaths of vacant land, you don't really get a chance to. But this neighborhood plan, when it was created, they really kind of thought into the future about access. So it recognized the existing roads, which are up here in yellow, as Lake Worth Road, Lyons Road, and Blanchette Road. And then it thought ahead and said, we need some better connectivity. So they wanted to create connector roads. So then through the development approvals of all the residential that came forward, the green roads and connectors were kind of developed. So then Polo Club Road came in, as did 47th Place, to kind of bring traffic and connect it down to Lyons Road. Hooks Road was brought down and connects down through a connector road south of Polo Gardens. So a lot of connectivity has kind of been developed. And then especially this little quadrant where the property is located, so we have the Lake Worth Crossings and Polo Gardens, lots of connection points. We have cross-access with Polo Gardens. This project can get to Polo Club Road, it can get to Lake Worth Road, it can get to Hooks Road, which can help ease access. So in conclusion, the property has been designated as commercial high since 2009 and is consistent with the neighborhood plan. The proposed square footage is less than what was originally signed to the property on a proportionate share basis, as well as combined with the Polo Gardens project. So the Polo Gardens, their portion of the property, this 19 acres was allowed for 300,000, and combined, this is at roughly 160,000. The uses of the hotel, the medical office, and then the hospital, hotel, institution office were also approved and identified in that ordinance in 2009 and is consistent with the neighborhood plan. The traffic study has been reviewed and approved by DOT and Palm Beach County Traffic. The proposed request meets all ULDC criteria, the comprehensive plan, and the neighborhood plan. And finally, I want to note that staff is recommending approval of the comprehensive plan amendment. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the comprehensive plan amendment. Staff is recommending approval of the rezoning conditional use and waiver requests. The Zoning Commission also recommended approval of these requests. So on behalf of the applicant, I request approval of the comprehensive plan and concurrent zoning applications. If you have any questions, I am available, as are the architect and the traffic engineer.
Thank you very much, Ms. McClellan. Does any commissioner have a question of staff at this, of the applicant at this time? Not seeing any. Does staff want to make a presentation on this?
I can make a presentation if you like. I think the applicant was fairly
I
complete.
will ask the board. Nobody seems to, nothing wrong with your presentations, but I think everybody's clear on what's in front of them.
I'm available for questions if you have any.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good. We need to do disclosures on item number 7. So we will start, I'll give everybody a second. We'll start with Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you. On item 6 and 7, I've had verbal communications with Lauren McClellan, received correspondence to be filed with the clerk. No site visit.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
Yes, I had a verbal with Lauren McClellan, Jennifer Morton, and email correspondence.
Thank you. Commissioner Marino.
Ditto. Verbal communications with Jennifer Morton and Laura McClellan, and emails and letters from residents.
Vice Mayor.
On item number 7, verbal communications, phone call with Jennifer Morton, Laura McClellan, and receive and file written correspondence and emails.
Thank you. Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. On item number 7, I've had verbal communications with Lauren McClellan and Jennifer Morton, received emails and no site visit. Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Baxter.
I have received several emails and letters which have been filed with the clerk, and my office met with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, Bob Sazanowski, and spoke with Patrick Wilson over the phone, and no site visit.
Thank you. And my disclosure is I had verbal communication with Jennifer Morton and Lauren McClellan. I received email correspondence which has been filed with the clerk. All right, that's out of the way. Okay, before we go to public comment, and I know we have a few folks here to speak, I'm going to ask our county attorney, because a lot of the correspondence we received has to do with a potential traffic signal. Mr. Stone, can you talk to folks about this?
Sure. From a legal standpoint, the relevancy of your comments should be limited to, or the scope of your comments should be limited just to this particular project and the subject matter discussed within it. And as far as the traffic signal, I'm going to ask our engineering staff to kind of elaborate a little bit more on an update regarding that.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Good morning. This intersection does not meet warrant for a signal because of 2 reasons. The first reason is it's very close to an existing signal.
Speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. This intersection does not meet a signal warrant mainly because of 2 reasons. The first reason is it's very close to an existing intersection or signalized intersection of Polo Road and Lake Worth Road. And the other reason is there is not enough traffic coming out from the neighborhood on the north side to warrant a signal.
Okay. Right. So as we move into this, so I'm going to ask you, as you're making your comments this morning, and we're delighted to have you here and to listen to them, that you limit them to what's in front of us today, which is not a traffic signal. That it's not anything we can contemplate, and so I ask you refrain your comments from that. And with that, Commissioner Baxter, you have your light on. Go ahead.
And I just want to give an update for my residents in the neighborhood. We did at the last meeting direct staff to kind of look at potential areas of trying to get relief for Summer Chase. And so we are already working on that. And I'm meeting with the neighborhood actually on Monday. So a few things there. So I don't want you to think we're not listening. I just want you to know this is a separate item than actually traffic lights, so on and so forth.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, you're recognized.
I'm going to direct this to Commissioner Baxter and to engineering. Traffic lights, I wish we could put a traffic light wherever anybody wanted it. I personally think if people want it, they could have it. However, the issue with warrants is not up to the county. It's really up to the federal government. These are federal requirements. And in a sense, you can understand that in the state of Utah, they should have the same requirements as the state of Florida. So there's sort of a standard federal warrants requirements in order to qualify for an intersection light. This is what I've learned, because in my district, it's a big deal. However, what I would like to do in this particular one, since we're going to have an area built out, that maybe we could revisit the number of traffic, the flow of traffic once the development is gone on, to see if, in fact, it would then warrant a traffic signal. So it's not over until it's, I don't want to say the fat ladies things, but at least until later we can revisit it if you'd like, if you would like, Commissioner, so that you could see that there's a little more traffic because of the commercial items that we're building, and then therefore it would warrant a traffic light, even though it does not today. So that is what I have learned about traffic lights, and I know that it's not something that we can do unilaterally on our own without qualifying the federal warrants. So thank you, engineering, and that's for you, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Baxter, then Commissioner Bernard. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Bernard, then Commissioner Baxter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Regarding the current configuration of the ingress and egress of the residents right now, I'm told that that's going to be changing. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is there anything that we can do to keep, what it is right now, so in that way for it not to be changed by FDOT?
No, actually, we need the westbound left turn into Polo Road extended because there will be heavy traffic for that movement. To extend that westbound left turn lane into Polo Road, this turn lane, the eastbound left turn lane into the community needs to be closed.
But why is it that the residents are being punished? It already exists. And so what can we do to fight against that, to just keep it the way it is?
We are thinking about the, entire Lake Worth Road corridor. We are not thinking about just one community. It's for the greater good of the entire, traveling public on the road.
So the residents who are already using that road, you're not thinking about them?
No, they will have opportunity to go into their community. Just they have to travel a little bit to the east and then make a U-turn. Or they can also come out of their driveway and make a right turn and then make a U-turn at the Polo Road signal. So that will be easier and a safer option.
District Commissioner, I'm not sure if there's anything that we can do to keep, the road the way it is right now, and to work with FDOT to not impact the residents. So, you know, I don't know if, since you're the district commissioner that represents that area, you know, if we need to make a motion, make a letter to keep it as is, then, you know, we'll take your lead as a district commissioner. But, you know, I think that we need to go against what FDOT is trying to do to the residents, and whatever that you want to do, you know, I'll support it. So since you're going to meet with them in the future, but whatever you need, I'm here to support you.
Thank you. Okay, we're not going to, I don't know what other meetings you've been to, but in our chambers, we don't have public displays like that. So thank you. I appreciate your cooperation. All right. Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. A question for staff. If we deny this, does that eliminate that turn lane that's triggering the closure of the median? It would still happen,
Correct,
even if we denied this?
correct. Because that, I think it's already been designed and probably about to be constructed or something like that. But this was a condition for a project to the west side of this project. It's not related to this project at all.
And I even had staff and I had two different groups of traffic people look at this, and even if the property owner had realigned the entrance and exit to align with the neighborhood to see if those traffic numbers would then warrant a signal. And what did we find?
No, not with the traffic volumes. It's not gonna still make the warrants for a signal. And then we will still have the distance issue.
What avenues would we have to, and this is more for staff, legal, what avenues do we have to not impact them?
So I think certainly the planning for this has been going on for a number of years. We've interacted with FDOT a number of times. Boards going back about a year or so, raised the concern. We've shared that with FDOT. What this is resulting from is a lot of the development that's occurring on the south side that has been occurring for the past 10 years. So if I remember correctly, we've got longer turn lanes to move southbound into the thousands of units and the, abundance of non-residential square footage. As part of that, the need to be able to stack more cars that are moving into the new development. This is kind of that resulting piece. As they needed to do it, it interfered with that cross point where the access exists now coming out. I don't know what's left to be done. There have been a number of interactions with FDOT on this. I don't know what other, I think we've expressed that, shared that, had as many discussions as possible, understand the change of traffic pattern that will evolve for the residents, totally get that. I think FDOT's reacting to, just a lot of intensity that's occurred over the past 8-10 years in this area.
I liked where Commissioner Bernard was going with this, so if it's okay with you, Mayor, I'd like to let him speak.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, I think that what we should do is basically do a motion to, ask FDOT to redraw this so now it doesn't impact the residents. I don't know how we can do it legally. That's why we have the lawyers. And Mr. Rudder, that's what we want to do, figure out a way for FDOT to redesign this road so that way it doesn't impact the residents. So how can we do it? You tell us and we'll make it happen.
Certainly take your direction if the board wanted to pass, express the point and the perspective. Absolutely, we can share that with FDOT. I just don't know exactly where they are. This has been ongoing with them for a long time now, but we would immediately share that with FDOT. And
I think that it's better for us to just do a motion, so in that way
Fine.
we're not sending in and express. Let's just do a motion that says exactly what we want. So in that way, they're not saying like, oh, well, this is the board that's expressing this. We're going to do a motion. I'd like for us to do a motion. the attorney if
Well,
you
he's-
want us how to.
Well, you want to work on that, and let me get, Commissioner Woodward had her light on for a while, and while you work on.
I mean, I can speak to that right now. If there's, as far as what the motion looks like, that would be a pretty vague direction to have staff reach out to FDOT and according to your direction. But as far as the timing, I think we're in the middle of this zoning application, so at the very least, save the motion until the end of when all the other motions are being done, or even separately afterward.
Mr. Mayor, I'd prefer we just get the motion out of the way, and because it's got nothing to do with this project.
Okay, I just want to, I'll look to the applicant. Do you have any objection if we handle this right now? Okay, they're fine with it, so let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and we'll take this, and let me go to Commissioner Woodward, and then we'll take that motion.
It's not much. I just need to amend my disclosure to add Stephanie Guerra. Apologize.
Very good.
And I will second Commissioner Bernard's motion.
Okay.
I didn't know I'm making the motion,
Oh,
but
well,
it
it
was your
sounded like
motion.
it.
No,
What he said, I move to it. Yes.
All right, so.
And I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion to advise, or to direct FDOT to review their plan and express our desire that it continue to allow the left turn into Summer Chase community from would be the eastbound traffic on the south side of the road, right? Did I get that right?
Just a
think
little clarification, not directing FDOT, but directing staff to
Okay,
meet with FDOT.
thank you. All right, you good with that motion?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Baxter, a second by Commissioner Bernard. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor, all opposed, that carries 7-0. Okay, let's get back to, okay, we're going to get ready. Anything else before we start public comment? We still have plenty of time, but, okay. All right, let's go ahead and start public comment on this item.
Thank you. We have 8 public comment cards that folks that wish to speak. Ira Solomon, Richard Guerrera, Richard Lowenthal, and Kimberly Tarana, just to start. Thank you. You take each of the...
Either microphone would be great. And again, the traffic light is not in front of us.
Good afternoon, and thank you, everybody on the commission to listen to us. My name is Ira Solomon. I'm a resident of Summer Chase, 3710 Springcrest Court. My parents previously lived in Summer Chase and were original homeowners, and they are unfortunately deceased at this point. The approval of multiple developing projects on the Lake Worth Road corridor, has had a cumulative impact on our community. I mean, it's great to look at one project and say, okay, well, they're only going to be 200 homes, or they're going to be 300 homes, or we've got a high school that's a mega high school that's being built on Lyons that's opening in August, okay, that will impact us. But we really have to look at the cumulative impact, on our community, and the indifference to the taxpayers of Summer Chase that have spent close to $30 million over the numerous years that we've been there, into Palm Beach. They mentioned the site study of 2009, but no one certainly at that time envisioned the traffic nightmare that the overdevelopment is causing. The gentleman here mentioned a few minutes ago talking about, well, they can go and make a U-turn here, they can make a U-turn here. I mean, imagine living in your community. Imagine your grandparents living in that community, okay, that are in their 80s or 90s that are trying to navigate an exit out of Summer Chase where they have to cross over 3 lanes of traffic to be able to even make a U-turn into oncoming traffic. And we were told at a previous meeting from somebody, well, they could just go down to another light and try to make a U-turn, or another light. I mean, imagine having a 4 to 8 block radius that you've got to be able to make a detour every time you want to come in and out of your community, okay? We are being impacted. Yes, there are other communities or developments that are larger than us, okay? But we've been here. We've been here for 30 years, okay? All we're asking is for some simple solutions. Again, you know, not mentioning the traffic light, but there are solutions that could be done by the FDOT and Palm Beach County, and we appreciate you guys recognizing that today. You know, the Morton Development Company, that, you know, if you look at the northwest corner of that development, right by the hotel, I believe, you know, we could share an entrance and exit path on that corner, right across from Cypress Isle Way, which is our exit, okay? And I don't want to take up any more of your time today. I have other people who have things that they want to say. But thank you for your consideration, and thank you for future considerations on this matter.
Thank you. Mr. Guerrero?
Yes, my name is Richard Guevara. I live at Summer Chase, 3771 Spring Crest Court. I'm also a retired postal supervisor. I'm also a veteran, disabled veteran. We have a lot of disabled veterans there. We have a lot of retired people there. We have teachers, we have lawyers, we have doctors. I've reached my goal where I want to retire and live. I'm scared to go out that road. I really am. You go out that road and they don't even stop. They're going 55, 65. They fly. But they want me to go and make a right when I can't even get out. When the light is changed, they don't stop to let you go by. They block you. You can't get out. And then you look at them and they look at you and say, well, we're here. You're there. You know, all we're asking is for cooperation, a little help. We did our part. You got teachers that are retired. I mean, I want to live out my life. I don't want to end up getting crushed because they don't want to stop, or because I'm trying to get in, I'm going to get hit. I want to be able to go home to my wife, see my grandkids, enjoy life, the rest that I got left. And I hear what everybody else is saying. Development, growing is great. Cooperate with us, give us help. I know you said don't talk about the light, so I won't. But, and honestly, if you think about it, that's the best thing there is. I agree with her. You know, I'm not asking for much. I'm asking help Summer Chase retirees that made our goal to do what we did, to bring up our kids, to bring up, you know, work in stations, work in the post office, fire department, police department. We did our goal. We did our bid. And all I'm asking is help me, help them, help us. You know, we're asking for help. We're here begging for you guys, please, listen to us. I understand what that gentleman said right there. They probably they stand there at a certain time where there's no traffic. Well, there's no traffic. Come at the time in the morning when you try to get out, you can't. Come in the time in the evening when you try to get out and you can't. You can't. They won't let you out. And if they let you out, whew, thanks, buddy. You gave me a break. I can't believe it. You know, I was always brought up with, you know, stop, let the other person go. Shit, I'm in a generation now is, who was that? That guy's going 80 miles an hour. You know, I'm sorry, but I hope you guys see and help us, because we need that help. And I won't take no more of your time. Thank you very much for listening to me, and thank you for trying to help us. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Lowenthal, followed by Kimberly Tarana. And you can take both microphones.
Good morning. My name is Dick Lowenthal. I live at 8381 Winter Springs Lane, and in Summer Chase. I've been a longtime resident there. First of all, I want to thank you for all your proposed help, which I hope you will do with us. You know, some of that traffic study was done at a very interesting time during the COVID, the peak of COVID, out of season, April. It made no sense to do a traffic study. I would challenge every one of you on this board to come to our community around 7:30 in the morning and try and get out between 7:30 to 9:30. Sometimes the traffic is backed up from Polo and Blanchette all the way to the Turnpike. And yet this gentleman is saying, well, it's no problem, you just go out and you just have to go a little bit further. You can't get across at that particular time. You've got cars going, if it's backed up or if they're not backed up, they're going 45, 55, 65 miles an hour on Lake Worth Road. So it's not only then, it's also around 3:30 to 5:30 or 4 to 6. So we have residents in our community saying, well, I can't have a doctor's appointment in the morning. I've got to wait till the traffic goes by. Then we can you can get out of the community. And what hasn't been brought up, it's not only getting in and out of the community, but let's talk about emergency vehicles. Now that's a major problem where time is of the essence to get an ambulance in there, a fire truck, or whatever. And if they get backed up in traffic, or as this gentleman says, well, no problem, they'll just go a half a mile down the road and make a U-turn. Well, it is a problem. And then they talked about other ways of doing it that for instance, the fire department wasn't even considered, and they weren't even asked for their opinion. And some of the proposals that were made were turned down, that they can't do it. So I would ask you not only in and out for the residents, but in and out for emergency vehicles. I broke my arm. You're all going to laugh. I broke my arm playing pickleball. Okay? And I appreciated the fact that the ambulance was there to take me off to the hospital right away. But they're not going to be able to get in there. They're going to be backed up in traffic, and God forbid they're backed up a mile or a half a mile to get in, or somebody has a heart attack or a stroke, and they're sitting in traffic. And they can't even get to the nearest hospital that they're building on Lake Worth Road. So I would hope that, and we appreciate, everything that you're trying to do, and hopefully will take us into consideration that the last thing we need is more gas stations and a hospital.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Woodward?
Yes, I have a question for staff. Is Lake Worth Road, is it a county road? Is it one of ours, or is it a state road?
It's an FDOT road.
Okay, but do we, as it's in the county, do we have the ability to do anything to the road, as in put like a do not block section if people are coming out? Because it seems like traffic is backing up to the next light and they can't get out. Are we able to actually paint the do not block that? I know there's multiples in downtown West Palm Beach where we have that to, if traffic gets stopped, they leave a gap.
We can ask the FDOT to look into that. I don't know what their standards are regarding that, but they will take that into consideration if they can do it.
So I don't know if we have to change the motion that was made earlier, but if that's something we could add, because everyone knows I'm not a fan of more traffic lights. I'm sorry, they're the bane of my existence. But I do know in my own community, I get backed up and people can't get out of certain roads. And whenever there's a do not block, not everyone follows it, of course, but most people will leave a gap for a community to get out. So if we can add that to the potential solution for FDOT, that we definitely support that, of just making sure that they don't get stuck in their communities where, and people they get stopped in traffic and they don't even know that there's an intersection that they're blocking sometimes. So this would be a way to alert them before they get there and allow the community to get out. So.
Thank you. I'm going to ask that we make a note, well, because we're in the middle of this case right now, and because we'd have to open up, I think we'd have to open up the other motion, which you are 100% welcome to do. Since you were on the prevailing side, you can bring that motion back up. Why don't we take it after we finish voting on this item? And we'll take care of that. Okay, Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
Thank you. And I look forward to readdressing that later. I did have a question for staff. Is there because there's a main drive going in and out of this development, kind of towards the center of it that we had looked at. Is there going to be an opening in the curb of the middle of Lake Worth Road to allow people to turn left into it if they're heading west?
You mean heading east?
No, heading west. So if you're heading west, are they going to be able to cross Lake Worth Road to get into this development.
You're talking about this, this proposed development? They will only have right in, right out on Lake Worth Road.
So none of the, because there's a few entrances, none of them have a break in the barrier that would prevent cars from turning?
We are keeping, with the FDOT's modification on Lake Worth Road, we will still allow, or the FDOT will still allow the community to make a direct left turn out from the
Well,
driveway.
forgive me, I'm not talking about that community, I'm talking about this development.
Yeah, this development can only make right in, right out. They cannot make they don't have any break. They have a break at the Hooks Road intersection. That's a directional left turn. So they can they can make a right onto Lake Worth Road and cross 3 lanes and go
But
to
they
the
can't
Hooks Road.
turn left going out of it,
No, not directly.
or nothing coming in.
Correct.
So we didn't just take, I wanted to make sure we're not taking Summer Chase, their opening, and moving it down for this development.
No.
So now it's just going to be one solid, currently,
Correct,
just one solid barrier.
correct.
All right, thank you.
Vice Mayor, you're recognized.
We did not do a traffic study of this application, did we?
For this application, usually the developers do their study, but we did a delay study for the Summer Chase community.
However,
just last
what we're-
month.
Okay, I'm just looking at the staff analysis. We are talking about traffic here, okay?
Right.
But I'm reading, and in reviewing it the other day, we never did a staff analysis, a county staff analysis of the impact of traffic to this community based on this application.
The analysis is regarding, the proposed project, what will be their impact on the roadway.
I'm sorry, I did not hear you.
Yeah.
Did we do a study, or did we not do a study?
Yeah, we don't do the study. It's the developer's traffic engineer who does
Well, I
the
can't-
study for the developer, and then we review the study.
So did the developer do a study analysis of this application?
Yes, they did.
And based on the applicant's analysis of traffic patterns, based on that, we went ahead and approved it. The staff did.
They meet our standards. We have a traffic performance standards in the ULDC, and they meet those standards.
Thank you.
Continue on.
Okay, thank you. Why don't you go right ahead?
Good morning. My name's Kimberly Torona. I live at 3876 Summer Chase Court in Lake Worth in Summer Chase. And I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. I'm the wife of a veteran who went to Iraq and Afghanistan for your freedom. We moved into Summer Chase in 2008. There were horses across the street. You could look across and see the stables. You could see the polo ponies out there doing their little thing. Now we have thousands of homes and apartments. We have a racetrack, gas, car wash, eateries, doctors, and now we're getting an Aldi's. Wow. Where's the traffic study of 100 hours for our area? We were told a study was done in April of 2020. I don't know about you guys, we were in lockdown. We were not moving. I was out shopping for toilet paper for some of my senior citizen neighbors. The impact of the traffic in our area, Lake Worth corridor, is horrendous. A traffic study needs to be done to see where we're going and where we're headed. You can't get out of our community. You can't go, like you said, 3 lanes to the east or to the west to try and make a U-turn. You take your life in your own hands. We have senior citizens that are 80, 90 years old, still driving. God bless them. They have to plan every appointment that they have now between the hours of 10 a.m. and 3, I'll say 2:30 because traffic starts picking up. We just ask you, I know you said there's no traffic light, but South Florida is overcrowded. You keep hearing about more workforce housing being built. Have you checked the prices of some of those workforce housings? I don't know if they can afford them. The impact on wildlife, I used to see 10 to 20 raccoons and whatever go behind my property. I've got cameras back there. I'm lucky if I see one or two a week. It's just overbuilt. Pedestrian crossing, well, what pedestrian wants to take their life in their hands to go across Lake Worth Road? I don't know if you can help us, but, and we only have one entrance in, one entrance out. The only way into Summer Chase is right there. If there's anything you can do at all, we'd appreciate it. Rezone for whatever. We're just a handful of senior citizens that want to live in our little community. Thank you.
Thank you. Toby Neal, followed by Clay Kime, Ronald Tamburella, and the last card is Stan Lemke.
Good morning. I'm Toby Neal. I live at 8340 Lake Cypress Road. I moved in 2017 when the horses were still across the street, and it was a beautiful thing for me to see every morning when I went to work. I am still one of the few people who live in the neighborhood that is not retired. So every morning, and I'm a teacher, so every morning, Monday through Friday, I have to plan for my drive to get out of my neighborhood. And if I miss it by a minute or two, I have to wait. There are two of those signs that are the T signs that tell people going west on Lake Worth Road that there's an entrance to our neighborhood. But every morning, there's nothing but gridlock for me to cross. And I shouldn't have to leave at 8 o'clock in the morning to get to 10th Avenue and 95. But I have to, because if I don't, I have to sit and wait, sometimes 5-6 minutes. The people are very rude when they gridlock. They look straight at me. And some people will wait, but I have to cross 3 lanes of traffic. And then I have to wait in the intersection just to get into the left-hand lane so that I can continue on to go east. Sorry, I still get confused with east, west, north, south. I've only lived in Florida since 2017. I appreciate your ideas. I'm very thankful for them. If they take anything away, it's just gonna be harder for me to be able to go to work. And now that we have a lot of new, in the last 3 years, we've had a lot of new residents move into the neighborhood, and they still work as well. And so there are sometimes 3, 4, 5. I know we'll never, ever get to your traffic pattern from our neighborhood because there's only 221 homes. But there's a lot more traffic on Lake Worth Road than there was in 2017. And it's gotten harder and harder. And then just to cross over 3 lanes, if I do get over and need to go to the turnpike, now sometimes the turnpike is all backed up because of all the new houses and businesses and the people getting on the turnpike going south. Anyway, I hope and I appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll be able to work something out. Thank you.
Clay Kime, followed by Ronald, and then Stan. You can take either mic.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry, there's no approval for any depiction of graphics today that didn't go through our office. There's a 5-day window for presenting items, so we stay on this screen.
All right, and,
I'm missing that. We've done it to ourselves. It's had nothing to do with what's in front of us.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
I'd like to offer these to be handed to the commissioners, please.
I'll get it,
I'm requesting, I don't know what the procedure is, I'm sorry.
You can ask the mayor if you'd like to accept documents into the record at this time.
Mr. Mayor, thank you.
And your name and address for the record, sir.
My name is Clay Kime. My address is 4021 Summer Chase Court. Yeah. Probably in the middle.
Where? In front?
Just, yeah.
For who to see?
Well, for the board to see.
Oh, wait.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, start.
At the risk of running out of time, if you could give me an extension of time to finish what I have to say, I would appreciate it. But let me start by saying I would ask you to please oppose this and not make any changes until further studies are done. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry. I would ask that I personally oppose this motion and that
Your
you
name,
all-
sir. You still haven't said your name.
Okay, it's Clay Kime,
Thank you.
K-I-M-E, 4021 Summer Chase Court. I do oppose, and I'm asking you to oppose, the motion that is before you today. There've been representations that have been made to you by the developer's representative, Ms. McClellan, that, that in 2009, there was nothing out here but farmland, and that's actually not true. If you can look at the handouts, and I can tell you, actually, you have in your handouts, there's also a list that shows you the dates of those were built, both in date order as well as alphabetical. So there's over 4,700 homes in the immediate area. They don't include anything on the other side of the turnpike, which there are also. We have a new 2,600 student high school opening in August. There's an elementary school on Lyons Road, and the traffic for the parents to drop off and pick up backs out onto Lakeworth Road from all the way down Lyons Road. Traffic is a lagging indicator of bad policy or failed policy. We need better planning, because we're in a bind, and I understand the issues with the state and all these, but we need some help here. We are surrounded. We have lots of neighborhoods that surround us. I understand the traffic light thing. You can't, but you can help to lobby for us, please, to whatever we need done. But we are stuck. We are victims, and we're victims of overdevelopment, and that's why I'm asking for you to not grant any further access or any other further amendments to these until it can be analyzed. When I've got these documents and about this hearing, what's to be covered. There's nothing that I could find in any of these documents that talks about impact on neighborhoods. We talk about water runoff, we talk about emergency vehicles, we talk about pedestrian traffic, talk about all kinds of things, but we don't talk about the impact on neighborhoods. And that's something I please call on you for this and for future considerations of what goes on to neighborhoods, to consider the impact of these developments. Development by itself is not a good, it is not an end. Because you can doesn't mean you should. So I would be glad to entertain any questions.
Thank you, sir.
It's not, okay. Thank you for your time.
Ronald, followed by Stan.
I'm sorry?
Ronald.
Ronald had to leave. He said his opinion was expressed by the other speakers.
He stands opposed. Stan Lemke? Thank you, sir.
I'm going to talk really fast because some of the things would be repetitive, plus I'm probably going to get a parking ticket here pretty soon. So I think when they put I know you want to talk about traffic light. let me introduce myself. My name's Stan Lemke, 3985 Summer Chase Court. I'll give you my brief resume. I'm a civil engineer and have spent most of my career working in local government, so I'm a little bit familiar with the process you're going through. I used to have in my department in a different location, a traffic engineering group, and I got so tired of arguing with them about warrants, so I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, when they put the traffic signal in Blanchette, my personal opinion is that helped a lot because it gave us a break coming in and out. I'm a little disappointed in some comments that were made. I don't know if by the developer or by staff, I don't know who said, but all you have to do is just go a few blocks and make a U-turn. Well, we are a 55-plus community. There are a lot of residents there that are more than 55-plus. And I think to force them to go and make a U-turn, I think does not make any sense whatsoever. Some of my neighbors have been involved in this a lot longer than I have. My personal opinion, what would help a lot, and I asked the developer, and she said it's not our issue, it's a DOT issue, is if you eliminated the westbound U-turn lane right in front. That would help a lot. And I realize it's not your issue, that's a DOT issue. But when you start talking about senior citizens and forcing them to go make a U-turn, I think is kind of the wrong approach. So safety is going to be an issue, and I think there are solutions. That's about all I got. Thank you.
That was helpful. Okay.
We also had 13 non-speaking cards that were opposed.
All right. Thank you.
Two others that we put in
Excuse me.
cards, and I don't know why we're not listed there.
Hang on, we'll find out. Maybe you didn't check. You
Yeah,
wanted,
the nice lady that was standing here, she was collecting cards.
might have been that they were not marked for speaking. Commissioner Woodward, you're recognized in the meantime. What? We need to see what he did. He may have put in a card.
Bob Sabrowski? Sorry, sir. You did not check that you wanted to speak, that's why.
Oh, sorry. I like speaking. Okay, my name is Bob Sosnowski. I'm the president of the Summer Chase HOA. I live at 8241 Lake Cypress Road. I am the president of Summer Chase Homeowners Association, and I'm here today just representing my community, which is a community of 55 and older, 221 homes. Many of our residents are in their 70s, 80s, some are in their 90s. When I purchased my home here in March of 2021, I thought the area on Lake Worth Road near Summer Chase's entrance at Cypress Isle Way was lovely. It was a pastoral setting with horses and barns. And in just 2 years, that bucolic scene has been replaced by a concrete jungle of apartments, townhouses, medical offices, gas stations, car washes, you name it. And we've got 2 hospitals, 2 medical buildings, and a hotel coming now. So just 8 months later, this community was embroiled with a tug of war with the developers of Polo Gardens. Those are the apartments and condos behind the Polo Gardens MUPD and now Lake Worth Crossing MUPD, the matter before you today. We had to force meetings with and presentations to our community by the developers and the DOT. I was surprised to hear Winston Trails. It was like everything was through and they were voting on it and nobody even talked to the residents. It's the same thing that happened at Summer Chase. The initial traffic study that was conducted, as people had mentioned earlier, was done at the height of COVID, when the state was closed down. I guess we were supposed to miss that. The second was done with when snowbirds leave and when schools are closed. And it certainly doesn't take into consideration the full residency of all the development that's coming, plus the new high school on Lyons Road, as people mentioned before. And I guess what Clay said was really important. What serious planner discounts this? We were seemingly misled with one fix that was presented to us regarding jump curves for the emergency vehicles. It seems that our emergency response teams were not aware and had never even heard of such a thing. And Fire Marshal DeRita agreed with my concerns about it and said no one even discussed the option with him. Zoning is on record as saying that there are no public objections to Polo Gardens. Well, at the MUPD, there were none because nobody notified us. Let me make it clear that the residents of Summer Chase are not against development. We're against overdevelopment. In some cases, we're not notified of some of these changes that were coming, and when we are notified, we come out. We're here. When they had meetings with us, people came out. So just on behalf of Summer Chase, I'm asking the board to delay the approval of this Lake Worth Road MUPD just until we can come up with some sort of solution for the traffic. You heard from a lot of residents. This is a real serious problem, and it's only going to get worse. And unfortunately, one thing I just want to end is zoning made this quip at the last meeting with zoning. They said that, and we're not supposed to talk about lights, but we need to come up with a solution.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks.
I have one more card from a Patrick Wilson that was not checked that he wished to speak. Thank you. That is the end of the cards.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Patrick Wilson, co-founder of the Lake Worth Road Coalition, and we're here just to talk with you about what's happening with our neighborhoods. And we have fine hospitals that have represented us for the last 30 years that I've lived in the county. We've got Wellington Regionals, 4 miles from my house, JFK. Wellington Regional's 4 miles from my house, JFK is about 6 miles, and Bethesda, the newest hospital in the area. We've all been served, and we've talked with them. There's no needs for more hospitals. The hospital next to the racetrack that's going in, another medical center. I mean, there's just too many hospitals, and I feel bad for the folks at Florida Crystals that spent close to $200 million to build that beautiful community just to the south, the apartment complex there just to the south of the hospital. I don't know that they were even notified that there's going to be this building in front of their entrance to their place. So none of it seems to make any sense. And as far as the traffic goes out here, we had a study done in 2009, and that study showed Lake Worth Road's level of traffic in 2009 was 49,250 car trips a day on Lake Worth Road from 441 to the Turnpike. And from Lake Worth from the Turnpike, from 441 to Lyons Road was okay. From Lyons Road to the Turnpike in 2009 was over level of service. And you can't tell me with 3,000 or 4,000 more houses in here, each house developing 10 car trips a day, that we couldn't be close to 100,000 car trips a day. And I'll give you a copy of this because there's links to the EPA that discusses vigorously what happens to us when you cut down the trees and you start filling the carbon dioxide. Each car dumps a pound of stuff out of the back end for each mile. So take 100,000 mile trips a day on Lake Worth Road. No trees to absorb the stuff. It's going to get into our water, and we're going to have some major problems. So for this project, we don't need any more hospitals. We don't need a no-name hospital, and we don't need a no-name hotel. Across the street from us is a Hampton Inn, part of the International Hilton family hotels. Talked with them. They're still not up to full capacity. So we're putting too many things. There's an old saying, too many cooks spoil the broth, and I think that's about where we are now. So I thank you, and I hope you'll just say no to support the wishes of our neighborhoods, okay? So say no, please. Thanks. Oh, listen, may I submit, this is what has the links to verify what I'm saying.
You can give that to staff.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
If you can make sure
They
get
can make a copy. I think, is it make a copy for us or something? Thank you. All right, Commissioner Woodward, then Commissioner Baxter.
Okay, thank you. My Question for staff is, this property was part of a larger parcel that in 2009 was rezoned for Lifestyle Commercial Center, LCC, and we are no longer using it. These were the only ones that were zoned for this. So what is it currently allowed with the 2009 changes that were adopted? What is this parcel currently allowed to be?
The 2009 land use amendment, it had this parcel and the adjacent parcel. Actually, if you could bring up the PowerPoint that I didn't show, it's actually got some images that make it a little bit more clear. They came in together. It was 19 acres, one parcel. The parcel to the west, however, came back in 2017 and then took itself, or it amended its conditions and took it out. What you have now is the old amendment only applies to this, to the current subject parcel. They're taking their share of what's allowed, but they need to delete the Lifestyle Commercial Center requirement. It was something we put into the plan around 2009. We used to have commercial location criteria to be, this was at the time what would have been called a mid-block condition. There was a prohibition about mid-block commercial unless you were a traditional marketplace development. So like the Delray Marketplace is the only TMD we've ever done in the county that was built, by all the principles. There was a concept of this was not big enough to fully be a TMD, so we came up with what we called a TMD Light, or a Lifestyle Commercial Center. So it had some of the aspects as the concept. The problem is now that you only got half of it, and then that adjacent parcel also took itself out of the Lifestyle Commercial requirement. The parcel even further west of that, yeah, you can see it here, the Lake Worth Commercial originally was the first Lifestyle Commercial. That's the first one that came in. So the idea was, with the neighborhood plan, the Lifestyle Commercial was going to be that pattern. If you actually go in and read the West Lake Worth Road neighborhood plan, they wanted to look something like the PGA Commons development on PGA. That was the concept of what they liked and what they supported. So it was going to be buildings more up to the street, parking behind it, then transition to residential, and then that was the original concept. Their neighborhood plan referenced that, but I think that vision got lost. So all they're doing is deleting the requirement. So if you don't do anything, they're going to be stuck with the Lifestyle Commercial requirement. And it's been deleted from the code. It's been deleted from the other two amendments that had that requirement. They've developed more like traditional MUPDs, and they already have the commercial land use. So there's no point to doing it. 9 acres is really hard to pull that off, and that's not what the applicant has brought us. So we have no issue with deleting it. They're still going to live within the other limitations on square footage, no large single tenant, and so forth. So the other issues are still being met. It's just the form of development will be a little different than what the board approved in 2009.
So
long explanation for a simple question. Sorry.
No, thank you. It's a good answer. So as far as us, if we allow the abandonment of this to change to what they want, what are the impacts? Is this a higher impact or a lower impact than what was originally required in 2009?
The overall was 300,000. There's 154,000 square feet left. The other parcel took 145 and change. They're just taking their share. So I think they're proposing 110,000 or so in the zoning. So they're not even going to meet what they have under the land use. I mean, they're well under it. So that's very typical. Land use has a high potential zoning. It's a much lower amount that they actually take down, at least in non-residential. Usually residential, it's over. It's fine. So there's no impact. So that's the only real comp plan item before you is to amend the condition. And so to delete that requirement, everything else is straightforward. There's no real impact. And also, just to address, Commissioner Sachs had the question about there was no traffic study. There was no traffic study on the land use amendment because they already had the land use designation. So it was already accounted for in the long range model. So I just wanted to clarify that there was one for zoning, there was not one for the comp plan.
Okay, Commissioner Baxter, you recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. With the understanding we're going to revisit the other motion at a later time, I would like to move to approve item number 7, A, B, and C.
So we need to do 6 and 7.
I think you need to approve the land use
We'll do
amendments.
6 first.
Yeah.
Okay, so I move to approve item number 6.
You okay? Hang on.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. If the applicant hasn't been provided an opportunity to rebut anything, it might be the appropriate time now. But they're shaking their head no, so I think you're good.
Thank you, Mr. Counsel. Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Baxter to approve item number 6. This is the deletion on the land use.
Yes.
Okay. and a second by Commissioner Bernard. Any discussion?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Go ahead. We're only on item 7. 6, I'm sorry, item 6.
See what happens when I leave to get out of the water? Everything changes here.
We're only on item 6 now.
On item 6. Okay, I think that, I think this is a very relevant discussion that we're having today on this, and it's because what I see over and over again in our county is development is good, we need development, overdevelopment is bad. We're experiencing overdevelopment without infrastructure. Cannot develop more without infrastructure. And I'm looking at the engineer. I know there's only so much we can do, but we have to do more. We have to. We're the county. And if that's a state road that follows federal regulations, we are not ready for this. We are not ready. I've read and reread the staff analysis. This is not compatible with the surrounding area in terms of overdevelopment. I cannot go along with this because it is premature. When we are ready with a traffic study, when we are ready after talking to the state FDOT, then we can revisit this. But until our infrastructure is prepared to meet the increased density of the traffic and everything else that comes along with overdevelopment, we should not approve this. And not just in this area, but every area. We are not ready for this. Maybe a good idea, but now's not the time, because we in the county are not ready to be able to absorb this additional development. We have not, without a staff analysis of engineering on traffic and increased traffic on this, I cannot approve it. So I would be against it. I think it's a good idea, but I think it's premature. And we just have to grow up a little bit and get our infrastructure together before we plan for increased development. And that's why I would not be going along with this today, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, since Vice Mayor was out of the room when you made your comment regarding the traffic analysis, can you please revisit that for us?
There. I think you picked up on the land use amendment staff report indicates there was no traffic analysis provided for the long-range traffic look because it already has the commercial high with the underlying 2 land use. They're not changing that. When 2009 it was done, they were evaluated and they were accounted for in the long-range model. So they're there. They are not required, and we're not required to do one. So that's why there is no one at that. You still have the concurrency analysis through zoning, so you do have that one. But it was just, I was clarifying that there wasn't one on the land use amendment.
May I respond?
Yeah, sure.
No, I understand that, but, you know, it's one thing to say that a traffic analysis doesn't have to be done because of the previous conditions of the classification. However, in my personal opinion, when you drive a road and there's over trafficked areas that go into safety of the residents, then I think that in itself is enough to indicate that we have overdeveloped without a concurrency with regard to roads. I see it everywhere. I see it in my district. I see it in every district, that we just we are busting out of our seams. And until we understand in this county, my personal opinion, professional personal opinion, that we have to get the infrastructure done first, then let's more hospitals or whatever it is we want, whatever the residents want. But until we get the infrastructure together, we cannot move forward with increased development. And it may be a good idea by Morton, but I just think it's premature at this time. Thank you for that response, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
Thank you. And I agree, actually, with a lot of what Commissioner Sachs has just stated. I think we might have different approaches. I still want to move forward with my motion, but on that subject, I did want to, I guess, make a comment that maybe with Commissioner Sachs, see how she felt about maybe when we start putting together our legislative once this year. Maybe we can put something in there to help with, because concurrency went away in 2012.
Yep.
And we moved to prop share. So maybe we can work with staff and try to find something that we can take up to Tallahassee that might better work for our area and the citizens.
All right. Any other comments on item number 6? Not seeing any. All right. All in favor? All opposed?
No.
We have, so it'll be 6-1 with Commissioner Sacks, sorry. Commissioner Sacks in opposition. Okay, moving on. Item number 7. This is the zoning, companion zoning to go along with item number 6.
Mayor, I'd just like to point out we have another error in our numbering. So A, B, and C is actually 7A, 7B, and 7C, not 5. So.
Okay. 7A, 7B, and 7C. I think we all have it. 1 second. Let me double check. We have it all.
No. It was simply in the agenda. If
The
you
motion.
look at the A, you'll see where it says motion, it says to adopt a resolution approving item 5A. That's obviously, it's obviously 7A, right? Because that's the agenda item.
Oh, got it.
It's a typo.
Got it. All right, thank you. Oh, they're all, okay. And then it's, they're all 5, one's 5A, 5B, and 5C. So that I'll need to change to 7. Got it.
Do we need a motion to amend? Okay, thank you.
I don't think so.
Okay, Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to make the motion to approve 7A, 7B, and 7C.
We have a motion by Commissioner Baxter, a second by Commissioner Marino on items 7A, B, and C. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none. All in favor? All opposed? That motion carries. You opposed? Motion carries 6-1 with Commissioner Vice Mayor Sacks in opposition. Okay. That takes care. Now let's move back. We'll come back to, you wanted to recall the, you want to recall your,
To amend the motion?
to
or-
amend them. Yeah, we don't have, it's not an
To-
item, but
So I think the most formal, cleanest way would be to motion to reconsider, and then if that's approved, do a new motion.
okay. So you want to make a
Okay,
motion?
motion to reconsider.
We have a motion by Commissioner Woodward to reconsider, a second by Commissioner Baxter. Any discussion on the motion to reconsider? Seeing none, all in favor, all opposed, that motion carries 7-0. Okay, now you want to, we're going to reconsider it.
Okay, I would like to go back to the original motion that we had, just adding the part about giving us the ability to strike the road or paint the road to say, do not block the intersection.
I second.
Go ahead.
So I believe that you'd have to accept the changes to the,
I accept.
and I accept as the seconder of the motion,
Yeah, I mean, technically, it's a new motion,
Okay,
but that works too.
Everybody's happy. All
Mayor,
right. Anything else?
Mayor, can you just restate what exactly the motion is that's before the board? Thank you.
I will ask our legal counsel to restate it since I'm sure I will mess it up, so
I'm gonna
paraphrase.
try to paraphrase what was said before. Motion to direct staff to coordinate with FDOT to prevent the improvements that will prevent a left turn into Summer Chase with the added,
Do not block box, I guess. I think that's what it's called. It's painted on the road, do not block.
to have them add that do not walk box.
Do not block.
Do not block.
Do not block the box.
Yeah. It's not really a box, but it's it's an entrance,
Yeah.
so, okay? Are you good with that? Excellent. Okay. Thanks. This was a little wordsmithing this morning. Oh, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
This is for the lawyer. Doesn't that become an infraction under the uniform rules of traffic? Because if somebody blocks the box.
I think it has to be in it has to be in a
Is it-
signalized intersection.
I just want to be sure that we're not.
But I'm not.
We're not, getting into making something an infraction under the uniform rules of traffic, that if somebody blocks the box, they could be given a citation. And so I just wonder if we could, and I don't want to complicate this more, but I know that is a citation under the uniform rules of traffic.
Sure, I would look to engineering staff to confirm that, but perhaps you could just have direction to contact FDOT about the left turn, and then if not impermissible, to ask about the, yeah.
Do not block the box. That's a traffic rule.
But-
And it's subject to a citation. So I just want to be sure that we're not overstepping our bounds in that. And maybe you could just let us know at the next, or whatever the attorney says, to advise us on that, so it goes through.
It may be that might be the case, but I believe it's illegal to block an intersection.
Oh, it is.
And this is not considered an intersection, so, but I have no problem with staff going and figuring it out.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right. All right. Any further discussion on the motion that's in front of us? Seeing none. All in favor? All opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Okay. Now, we're moving on to item number 8.
Okay. Item number 8 is our employee housing modification to the Unified Land Development Code. This has been before the board 2 times, so this is up for final adoption. We have not made any changes since it was last presented. We are recommending approval of item 8, not 7, and we would request a motion to adopt the ordinance for item 8.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Marino, a second by the Vice Mayor on this will be the final reading on the employee housing. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none. All in favor? All opposed? That motion carries 7-0. All right, moving on, we have item number 9, a permission to advertise.
Yes, item number 9 originally had 2 parts. It's called Unity Title and Potentially Buildable Lot. We're seeking requests for permission to advertise. On the add delete, we have removed Exhibit 2, which relates to the potentially buildable lot, so staff can go back and meet further on that particular item. So we're requesting permission to advertise for Exhibit 1 only. This relates to unity of titles. It was removed from the code several years ago. We're looking to put it back in for residential properties where a property owner has 2 adjacent properties next to each other and wants to use a unity of title to tie them together, ultimately to build an accessory structure. But in the future, if they want to release it, subject to the criteria we have in the code, they can do that without losing density. So it's a benefit for residential property owners.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Marino. We have a second by the Vice Mayor. Any further discussion on this item? Not seeing any. We'll see you all in favor, all opposed. That motion carries 7-0, and I guess we'll see you back in the future to discuss this once you have advertised it. All right, moving on. I think we are now to, we are at comments. All right, we will start with our county attorney. Any comments this morning, sir?
No comments.
Okay. Our zoning director.
Yes, I have comments this morning. I would like to give you a little update on our ULDC work plan. We talked about this during the agenda reviews. So the board has talked on multiple occasions about the complexity and the web of the ULDC, and we have lots of revisions in the pipeline, and we wanted to give you a little bit of an update. Administratively, we've made a lot of changes to our pre-application process, to our zoning confirmation letter processes. We've added an ag use verification process. All of this, keeping in mind a lot of the dialogue at the board to encourage code compliance and address some of the code violation issues. And the ag process helps us identify properties that are agriculture and helps them facilitate that approval without necessarily going through a DRO process. That's been in beta mode since last fall because of a PPM that we have and following up with a consultant we hired on agricultural uses. Other things administratively, we've revised our calendar, we've shortened our sufficiency review time, we've expedited our staff review whenever possible. We typically support time extensions prior to the items coming to you. And don't forget, most of the items that zoning doesn't actually come to these meetings. Maybe like 5 to 8 items a month come before you, but hundreds of applications we're processing administratively, whether it's reviewing building permits or the administrative approvals that we do. We've, beyond the OLDC, we're coordinating more with building and code enforcement as well. As you've seen, most of the time when code enforcement's here, we're with them. But really a lot of the code changes that we want to bring to you over the next couple months are about encouraging code compliance. And next month or the month after, we hope to have before you changes to nonconformities and changes to our administrative variance processes. And these are all in the context of cutting time, cutting complexities for development, and again, most of the time on items that you don't actually see. We're also going to be hoping to bring before you very soon the commercial vehicles, home occupations that we talked about in May, fences, hedges, and farm worker housing was added last month. But what we're finding that a lot of the complexity, and here's a graphic we showed in agenda reviews, a lot of complexities comes from the consultant that was hired 20 years ago or so that broke some of the articles in the code into multiple pieces. Those blue and orange on this site, on this slide, were 2 articles that were fairly condensed. They were broken into 6, and that has created a lot of these loop situations where one part of the code is defined in Article 1, the parking requirements are Article 6, your home occupation is in Article 4, and so even the most straightforward appear amendments such as commercial vehicles, it is such a web where it's taking more time to unravel, and as Wendy likes to call it, it's the sweater that you pull the thread and it's unraveling. But we want you to know we are working very, very hard with the business community and our applicants before you and the little guy as well. Unity of title is really important for the little guy. And then as well as nonconformities. A lot of these smaller applicants and individual homeowners, we're working really hard. And we wanted to give you this update this month that we're trying hard to get these items before you.
Great, thank you. All right, thank you very much. All right, Planning Director.
With 3 minutes to spare, I can still say good morning. So I just wanted to provide a brief update, largely focusing as a follow-up to the January 31st board workshop that was held that focused, there were 2 major components, workforce housing program as well as a discussion on just general concepts of density and redevelopment within the county. That aspect's a little bit longer term, but mostly I wanted to focus on providing an update on the short-term item, which will be back before the board later this summer. And to give a lot of thanks to the workforce housing team on staff that's worked on this. We've been working to better define how fees can and cannot be applied with rental projects and implementing this with the property managers across the county. At the same time, we've been monitoring recent state legislation that address landlord-tenant relationships to make sure that nothing in the code or that we were proposing would step afoul of anything that was in that new legislation, and there were no issues deemed with that. We've expanded the amount of information that we collect and monitor for each unit in order to be able to track the turnover of units and get ahead of non-compliant fees and rents. Thirdly, staff has drafted some code changes that I mentioned will be coming back before the board later this summer, and those concepts were discussed at that January 31st workshop. Some of the specifics are including specific instructions for the rent and fee calculations, replacing the after-the-fact annual reporting, which would be occurring each January, with real-time accounting, granting compliance credit only once accurate documentation is received. And then that earlier was mentioned for a rental unit, there's a 30-year requirement for that unit to maintain in the program, so that clock would start once that verification has occurred, as well as establishing specific compliance thresholds that trigger code enforcement and required remedial actions, and requiring projects to post real-time workforce housing unit availability. That'll help with, right now there's on our site a static number of units, but those were the total number of units, not what's actually available. So we'll get a lot of calls from people saying they see a number, but that's not actually what is available. Following the January workshop, we did hold an interested parties session in late March. Since then, there have been a few more revisions, so we will be going back out to industry next month to have another meeting with them, and then we'll be back before the board for permission to advertise, LDRAB, and then back for adoption later this summer. And then also, part of that workshop was discussion on density and redevelopment. Part of, I don't want to say delay in getting back, but we were obviously monitoring a lot of the legislation, Live Local Act. There was another bill that has modified the required planning horizons for comprehensive plans. So that's another thing we'll be addressing. And we'll be working closely and setting up meetings with various county departments, because you can't have conversations on density and how we address redevelopment without bringing in engineering and zoning and all our partner departments. So we will be obviously back before the board with another check-in and with some staff recommendations at that point. Also, this summer we'll be coming before the board to initiate a few other items related to updating the comprehensive plan, our URA, transportation concurrency exception area, addressing how we define congregate living facility in the comprehensive plan, and addressing independent living, because they have different characteristics to each other and different impacts, as well as a couple element changes that we're working on with various county departments. So with that, I will be quiet.
Thank you very much. Executive Director. No comments. Assistant County Administrator.
No comments.
Okay. We will now move on to commissioners, and let's start today with Commissioner Baxter.
Thank you, Mayor. So I was speaking with staff, and I guess when we had given direction at the meeting, when everyone had came out, let me back up a little bit. First, I want to say thank you to staff. We had the most amazing town hall last night. We had over 400 people show up to talk about the potential of turning the 128 acres into a new racing area for them. The interest has been phenomenal, and so I can't thank especially Channel 20 and everyone here enough for that. After talking with some staff members, I guess our direction, my direction was not clear. So I'd just like without objection, to clarify the direction. I would like to, and after speaking with Todd, he had suggested we put out a request for information. So maybe working with some key people in the industry to put together a request for a proposal. I'd like to see that, and I guess that's where the clarification come in, a new request for proposals by October for people who would be interested in developing the site, running it, and so on.
Certainly, so the direction from May was to come back to the board, to give the board an assessment of what it would take, what's involved to do it, to start that. Then subsequently, if the board should direct, to put a request in whatever form it may take to do that. I would tell you, if the board wanted to direct us to do something to really expedite that, October is going to be really tight. I can tell you that FDO is sitting on a lot of projects, but I think we would still want the opportunity to discuss with the board, kind of bring back to you that initial piece of it, and be able to share with you what they have by way of projects and work that's out there in the world right now. That was not something putting it out there on the street. It was not something on radars initially. It was to get back to you, to have the discussion about where it could go by the fall. But understanding your point, but I do think,
I mean, I guess this would be the best, no time like the present to ask this. You keep saying where we want to go. Do you mean other than a racetrack?
no, not at all. The direction was to look at a possible RFP, to come back and give an assessment to the board of the previous request for a different type of use that was out there, and then take into consideration this new concept, new use, what might be involved, two different things that were out there. But we needed some time to assess what may or may not be involved in doing something different. That's why we said we would come back to you prior to the fall, in the fall.
What information is it that you would be coming back to us with?
I think we want to tell you what timeframes would look like, what would be involved, how long to go out. Might be questions about using the same configuration of property, having that in that kind of space. Certainly any input that anyone had regarding, it's a different type of function. And if they needed different geometric framework for a racetrack versus the previous use that was out there. So probably a number of points that would be fair to talk through with the board, but I think as much as well is sharing the timeframes that we can handle with regard to staffing and the projects that are in the queue right now.
I'd like to hear, I guess, what my other commissioners have.
Commissioner Marino, recognized.
Thank you. I think for clarity, because this was discussed a while back, once we had the RFP on there originally for a different use, the RFP went out, we had one answer, and then they didn't actually continue with the discussion. And I think what Commissioner Baxter and I think probably the rest of the board would like to know is, we have this acreage. What are the prohibitions on this land? How much of it is wetlands? How much of it can be improved on? Because now we're going to a, if it were in fact a racetrack that is impervious, whereas before it was just dirt, so it was pervious. So I think before we can put out an RFP, we need to know from staff, and not till October, we need to know from staff how much of this land is actually usable for impervious land, impervious use, because that would help us in the RFP. Commissioner Baxter, is that?
Let me,
okay.
can I just, and can I throw something else in? I think the other thing you would need to know, we're going to need to know any drainage. I mean, because all those things will affect the RFP, right? They're going to need to know the drainage. They're going to need to know whatever, if there are any road improvements are going to need to be made to accommodate a racetrack. I think there are a number of items that are going to need to be identified.
I think it would also go to, the expectations that the board might have on audience space and bleachers and how much of that, some of those nuts and bolts, but to have that general
Mayor, if I-
feedback from the board first.
Mayor, may I continue?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll finish with Commissioner Marino since I interrupted her, and then we'll go to Commissioner Baxter, sorry.
That's right. I also know that this is right next to the gun range, so we also need to get some feedback from the sheriff's office. But, you all have known for quite a while that this was something we were going to be looking at. So I know everybody's got a lot on their plate, and the sooner the better. I think, we have budget coming up. We have a couple of workshops. But at the end of the day, we need to know what land can actually be part of the RFP. And if you can do that in an expedited manner, I think that's what we're all looking for. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Commissioner Baxter, then Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Commissioner Marino and Mayor. And just to update you, I did actually speak with the sheriff yesterday because there were some concerns that we didn't have a long enough drag strip for a full quarter mile, drag strip. But even the people that came out to the town hall last night were very loud and clear. We would love I spoke to the sheriff because I guess it's kind of the property south of him that would be continuous with the 128 acres had been, I guess, slotted as sort of a second programmed phase for the shooting range, but he had verified, confirmed, and called me back that they don't have anything in the works as far as that goes, and they were more than willing to work with the county if, to see what that looks like as far as being able to allow the full quarter mile strip. But even if that didn't work out, I think the overwhelming majority of the people last night would be completely happy with an 1/8 mile strip if something were to fall through on that. Pretty much, and putting this together, which is why I had asked about just putting out the RFI, the request for information, so we can work with industry leaders. We looked at, prior to this meeting, I had been looking at, there's even a way to set up where the starting line would be for a drag strip, because all the noise comes from the starting line. And where behind the cars, where would that face? What would it face? It wouldn't face Wellington. It wouldn't face Arden, to keep those noise, it's next to a shooting range, but just in an abundance of caution, keeping noise down. And we were just looking at, ways to assist. So I definitely want all that information that has been previously listed. I just don't want to weigh this down forever, which is why I just really appreciate some expediency if possible. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Just want to clarify and understand the point I'm trying to get done. Didn't want to create the expectation that you're going to have a request out there in October. We need to have that discussion with you. Hear the point, hear the board's direction on faster than sooner. Absolutely understand that. And we'll work with facilities, talk to county administrator, and we'll be back to you on this as quickly as possible.
All right. Commissioner Woodward.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would just like to say I like the idea of the RFI, request for information. It's important that we do this quickly, I understand, but before we go to an RPF, we sort of need to have like a specifications, and we need to be as detailed as possible when that goes out, so that we're getting fair bids from people and who are going to be coming in to do this, and they know what our expectations are, and we know what the community's expectations are. So I would not want to speed through to that process without doing a thorough information on the community, what we have expectations for, what's allowed, drainage, all the environmental issues, all of that should be part of it. And then we would hopefully be able to put a good specification of what is expected for this project when we send it out to bid. And then hopefully when that comes back, it comes with a good understanding and we can move forward quicker once that part's completed. So I like the RFI part very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Woodward. Okay. Anything else, Commissioner Bexer? We're on your comments. I just want to see if you have anything else.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do support Commissioner Baxter in terms of expediting this issue. Earlier we heard comments by the zoning director and planning director, and Mr. Mayor, just based on the comments that I heard from both the planning director and the zoning director, it seems like you've kept them very busy. And it's your fault. No, but really, just want to thank the staff for all of your hard work and seeing that you're trying to remove some red tape. And so I know the mayor's been, for years asking for this, but we really, truly appreciate all the work that, your entire staff do for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. All right, Commissioner Marino.
I have no comments, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Woodward.
Yes, thank you one more time. I wanted to thank staff for everything from today. And just to let you know, I've been out in the community. I went to a ribbon cutting just yesterday that was in unincorporated. And they knew I was commissioner, but usually that means I get to take some grief for whatever happened leading up. But they wanted to let me know that our building, zoning, planning department was the best that they've worked with in a while. They do a lot of work with municipalities, so I just wanted to send that. And I appreciate it, and what you're doing is making a difference to the people who really have to deal with this. And also permitting our fire, I don't know if it's the inspector, it's one of the 17 departments that does this, helped with the YMCA that's doing their project, caught something pretty early in the process that wasn't being done correctly, would have cost them a lot of money. So good job on that. They were able to correct it. And I just wanted to thank you for that. And also the workforce database that's being done on the housing. It was a concern of mine coming in, and thank you for the work that's going in. And hopefully this is something that, will be accessible to the public soon in helping people find workforce housing. I have a lot of people asking about that, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Commissioner Barnett?
No comments.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Traffic is a big deal, and everybody discusses it. So I did a traffic workshop yesterday, and I tell you, I am so proud of our Palm Beach County staff. We had the full board of county engineers, David Ricks, Joanne Morton Rose, Moel Turk was there. We also had engineers from the Florida Department of Transportation. We had James Green talk about what we can do for seniors for driving safety, and Clinton Forbes, who challenged everybody to take a bus ride. And I found out that you can, for $2, you can go from mall to mall, from Commissioner Marino's area all the way down to the mall over at Commissioner Woodward's area. $2, you can't beat that. And we had Valerie Nielsen from TPA, Kelly Smallridge from our Better Business, business. Thank you. And it was just, and of course Virginia was there, and it was just really a showing of how we in the county, our staff and members of the commission, some of the staff members from our commissioners who were there, really want to work with people today in our community, young and old. We had also Eric Stern from the school district to work with students in traffic safety. So it was a big deal. And our staff's so proud of all of you. You work very, very hard. You work so hard to make this place the best place, paradise for us to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. All right, I need to recognize a couple people in our chambers today. I have been blessed with having 3 interns in my office this summer, and we have 2 of them here today. I have Natalia Van Horn. Natalia is a student at, am I get this right? It's G-Star School of the Arts, studying filmmaking. And you might know her mother, who's sitting right across the dais from us. And then I have Christine Sosa. Christine is a student at Florida State University. And I know she hates when I do this, but I'm going to do it until I can't do it anymore. She, so proud of her, she graduated not only with a high school degree, but she also graduated with enough credits in college that she finished her bachelor's degree in 2 years, and she's now at FSU, and now she's going on to get her master's. So really pleased to have them both here with us today. Okay, did you guys get a close-up Channel 20 on them? All right. And then last thing I just want to share with the board and the community. Yesterday I had the opportunity to attend an event up in Orlando. This was and it was an event on the completion of construction for Brightline. And that phase has ended. They're onto their testing phase, and the plan is to have service between Southeast Florida, including West Palm Beach, to Orlando by September, and we hope they make it. We talked a lot about traffic. I had the opportunity, of course, I didn't get to take Brightline up there. I had to drive my car, and the ability to take hundreds of cars off the road. Toll Road may not like that for their revenue side, but I can tell you, I think a lot of people appreciate having potentially less vehicles on the road, and it certainly make a nice, easier transportation option for so many people, for visitors, for business folks. And really, I think it's going to invigorate and enhance the connection we have between Central Florida and Southeastern Florida with business opportunities. So really pleased to see that is moving forward. And with that, I have nothing else. And if there's anything for the good of the order, not seeing any, I want to thank you. I want to thank the staff. Great job today. And everybody have a wonderful day, and this meeting is adjourned.
Wonderful.